Yeah, so we'll be recording this and uploading it to YouTube in the coming days as well. So feel free to send it on to anyone who may be interested afterwards. By way of introduction, here at Oliver Bernard, we're a recruitment consultancy, but we have a large community section as well. We put on various events like this and have been doing them remotely over Zoom, obviously whilst everyone's at home and everything like that. So thank you for joining in. This is born out of obviously the Go market, which is where I specialise in. So if anyone's got any questions about the market, wants to discuss it in general moving forward, please feel free to reach out. Also, if anyone would like to do any of these future talks, that would be great. We also actually have one thing I wanted to mention is I know a lot of people have been donating a lot to the cause at the moment, to the NHS or general charities. We also have set up a Just Giving page with the links on the event page, which is for the National Emergencies Trust, who are in partnership with the Red Cross, who do basically they provide support and distribute funds to lots of local charities. So if you have a minute after this to have a look at that, any donations would be greatly welcomed. But yeah, I think that's mainly it. So thanks everyone for logging on. It looks like most people have found it now. I'll admit people as and when they come in, but I will pass over to Laura now. Some of you may know Laura Degiovanni. She is the founder of TiiQu. So she'll be doing a great talk on credentialing on blockchain over the next 20 minutes or so. Following that, we'll have a bit of time for Q&As as well, which can be done over the chat function. Is often easiest. But yeah, so Laura, she'll start with an overview of credentialing and then going into more specifically some of the technologies that they're working with and their new top technologies they've been using. And everything around that. So yeah, I'll hand over to Laura now.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Great to be with all of you. Let me share my screen here, and here we are. I will be talking very quickly about what credentialing is and why we think blockchain is the best solution to go for. First of all, however, I think we need to understand where is the problem. So when we think of writing on stones anything, for example, if we think of our professional background, we have a number of opportunities. Well, certainly collecting credentials in like certificates of degrees, or collecting micro-credentials, collecting digital badges, or going for a blockchain-based proof. So the difference is all about how much important it is for that information to be instantly verifiable, impossible to be faked, and really representative of what the individuals know or can do. So here you are. The challenge on the point of view of the issuer is very much about the trustworthiness of data, the interoperability of that certificate that is going. Now, wow. The result, benefit.
Sorry, Laura, that was my fault. I accidentally muted you. Would you mind going back about 30 seconds or so?
Okay. So, did we see this?
Yes, we had that. Yeah, just from this slide onwards. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So basically, it's very much about creating trustworthiness so the trustworthiness of the credential and the capability for anyone accessing that information to be sure that the information that is attached is true. The benefit to those who show a blockchain-based credential is basically to increase their capability to access, for example, opportunities. And the benefit for the issuer is to prove their their capability to understand the impact of a certain credential on, for example, on the labor market, or in hiring, for example. Going digital for an issuer of credentials is not enough, because unfortunately repositories, we know absolutely they are closed, they can be hacked, and depend on someone else's governance. While micro credentials, so more specifically open badges, have a lot of plus. They are granular, they are stakeable, they can represent digitally a number of elements. They are personalized and certainly are machine readable. They also represent a problem, and the problem is of open badges is security. Basically, anyone can issue today an open badge. So it can represent, on the point of view of university or of issuer of credentials, for example, an e-learning providers, a good opportunity to represent the skill that an individual earned. Unfortunately, on the other side, they represent also the risk to be to not be trusted enough, because the user's perception is that open badges, anyone can have an open badge, and anyone can copy it eventually. So certainly blockchain-based credentials offer a different opportunity, and the opportunity is represented by the fact that the information is distributed across a network that is so wide that changing the information is impossible, or very difficult to be done, and very expensive. The immutability of the information that is the stronger element of a blockchain-based credentials. The fact that the information, when is stored, cannot be changed by anyone, as opposite to a credential, a certificate, a degree that is eventually stored in a repository and can eventually be hacked or misused. And another element that is absolutely key for credentialing, for credentials, especially in the professional sphere, but not only, is that they are anonymized. So basically, if you anonymize an information, if you issue a credential on the blockchain, it is verifiable by anyone, but because it is hashed, is accessible only if the owner of that information share the credential itself. So blockchain-based credentials are going to be trending, let's say, and this is because the security and the capability that they represent for even governmental and institution and the organization in many industries is that they reduce cyber risks and fakes and build that element of trust that enables virtual collaboration. So out there are dozens of projects, very interesting, and I can cite just two of them, but there are many more. The European blockchain partnerships, creating an infrastructure for example, issuing credentials in the educational sphere. Blockchain cert by MIT, and then other credentialing systems that cover more specifically the identity space. So because there is a lot out there that is happening, and most importantly, there is now a specific use case that can prove the interesting side of making it democratically available an information without showing the sensitive data of an individual or exposing sensitive data to the crowd. I strongly think we are in very close to taking out of the ground credentialing on blockchain. We personally at TiiQu, we have been working on credentialing in the professional sphere, and recently created also a potential new option for national health organizations that could issue a passport collecting immutable credentials in the health space, more specifically immunity certificates. So we think that this could enable, for example, an individual accessing a workplace to demonstrate his immunity at a certain point in time without necessarily exposing his data to any third party not related. So that's what we, the first, the very quick overview. Now, I think the best is that we go straight to the demo of how credentialing on blockchain works with Certif, the technology that we have developed and that is based on Ethereum. Let me go here, right. So here you see, I will keep the questions, I will take the questions after. So here we are in on Certif. So Certif is a license system. The very big difference between this system and any other blockchain-based certification system eventually available is that it was designed to make the issuer of certificates, allow to the issuer of certificates to control the entire process. So this is not a platform where you ask to do the job of certifying or issuing on the blockchain a certificate. Is a system that converts the information of the issue of a number of certificates into cryptographically secured data and then transfer them to the blockchain. The way it works, of course, again, is licensed. It has the possibility, of course, to create a private key for directly from the machine, and this needs to be like that for guaranteeing that there is no possibility for TiiQu, for example, to access to the private key. It can be revoked and deleted. And again, the way it works, basically the process was designed to make the publishing to the blockchain absolutely easy also for a non-technical person. Our nice Fox here, the MetaMask, converts the information that are the orders given by the issuer to the blockchain. And the way it works is basically takes the information from a database. So let's see it here, for example. This is a typical database of a university, for example, where are stored the information of a number of certificates to be issued. So on a very basic CSV, it could certainly be an API that converts the information from the cloud to the Certif. But in this case, for the demo, we will be using simply a CSV where the university or the e-learning provider or whoever, or for example the medical institutions, if we think of an immunity certificate, will list the recipient, the kind of certificate, when it was obtained, what's the date, etc., etc. All these information may also contain the validity, so a validity term. So which means that you can decide that a certain certificate is valid until a certain date. At that certain date, the individual will still have his PDF, but that PDF, once verified, will show that it is suspended. So will expire automatically the capability for the individual to access to, for example, to a certain opportunity. So the way it works is we choose from Certif the list of certificates to be issued. Certificates can be issued in bulk or in one by one. We choose it and okay, we import it. And when the information is imported, the system converts them into, voila, let's see, for example, here, voila. Here we say that our Samuel Oxby Robinson had master in engineering, obtained at this date with this email address, etc., etc. Of course, if it was, for example, a financial advisor with that had passed a certain course, and this course needs to be re-verified every month, there would be a validity. Private key, public key, and the PDF of the certificate just generated. The way it works, the PDF, is that it contains metadata that send back the viewer to the verifier, and we will see this just after. The way it is designed is basically a pre-uploaded a kind of template. And when the information are imported, the template is filled in. What you go and publish to the blockchain is not the individual hash of that is here of the single certificate, which is which correspond to the element of the certificate itself, but is the result of all hashes altogether. So that's what we are going, the Merkle root for the batch is what we are going to publish to the blockchain. And because how the blockchain is designed, each hash is derived each block published is derived by a number of hashes, and that takes the hash from the previous block too. If we wanted to change, for example, an information here in any of the certificate issued, for example, writing that Samuel had, I don't know, was not a master in engineering, but so whatever, we change it, then the hash related to it would change. And because this batch derives from this and from all other hashes, we should be in the position to change all information in order to change the hash, the published hash, which is quite unfeasible, or let's say that it would be so expensive in terms of power to act simultaneously on all the data related to that single hash that is the base of what make a blockchain-based certificate credible and immutable. So we go for publishing to the blockchain. This is the second action that our issuer does. The system verifies a set of information, and when everything is okay, we can say to our little fox to effectively publish to the blockchain. And the fox, so our MetaMask, her job is to tell us how much it costs, and when we effectively confirm that we are okay for publishing with that cost. Of course, here the cost is related to all certificates published, so to the current exchange, $7.5 would approximately represent 100 transactions, and 100 transactions may correspond to thousands and thousands of certificates to be issued. So once this is done, we generally should have some kind of box here saying that is done. Not always it happens. So we have issued our certificates, right? And the certificates is automatically sent by the system to recipients. When recipients, so let's say batches, example. Let's take the batch of today, which is 28. Okay, it's here. Certificates. The last that was issued is Evelyn Richka. Let's see the file. So this is the last one. I download it. Let's say that I am Evelyn, and I'm receiving this certificate, and because I want to show it to third parties or to my, I don't know, to anyone to prove that I am that I effectively have this degree, for example, I will send out my my certificate to a third party, and the third party receiving it will verify it by clicking on the link or on or through the QR code. And where this will send is to the verifier. Verifier is an open source system that we have released back last year, which enables to basically verify any certif created. So the way it works, it chooses the certificate. So basically it allows you to import the certificate of Evelyn, right, and verify it. So what it gives you back is a set of information that confirms that Evelina has effectively obtained that certificate. The hashes, the verification that it does is matching the hash, verifying that the public key is registered, that the Merkle proof exactly exists, etc., etc. When all this is done, you have your green page that says, yes, the certificate is true. Now, let's imagine that, on the contrary, for some reason, Evelyn doesn't, I mean, for example, she asked, well, she had a certificate as a doctor and she killed somebody, and her certificate was suspended, or it simply expired and needs to be renewed. So the issuer in that case would probably suspend that certificate, and the suspension of the certificate or the revocation of the certificate pass through the same process that we have just seen. So saying to the Fox that the certificate needs to be revoked or suspended, accepting the cost that is associated with the transaction, and let's just say that Evelina is not really 100% honest, and although she perfectly knows that she has not the right to use that certificate, she still does transfer to a potential employer or whatever that certificate. So by showing to third party that certificate that now has been suspended, let's see what the verifier, the person who received that certificate, will do. Well, they will still verify it, but at this point, because the certificate was suspended, the verifier will announce that the certificate effectively exists, so the hash matches, the information is correct, it was not manipulated or misused or whatever. However, as you see, the page is red because the certificate was suspended. So basically, that is, I don't know how was I with the time, but that's basically what I wanted to show you, and I think is was the basic. I'm open to questions now, and thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Laura. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, if you use the chat function at the bottom and type in your questions is easiest, and then Laura can read them and respond to anything anyone would like to ask.
So no, all the smart contracts are open source, and no. Have you considered using Hyperledger in the? No. Well, and I tell you why. Hyperledger is a very good option. However, at the moment, we strongly think that we want to keep the system on a public blockchain for all of what concern the governance aspect of a public blockchain. However, we absolutely understand that some companies for systems that are specifically related to their context may want to use, for example, Hyperledger. Who is using this system or who will be? Is it still in development? Well, the system, the certifier is ready. We are still in, not in the main net, however, can be adopted. We are currently discussing with a number of clients in the professional sphere, and was presented to, unfortunately, to the Italian professional associations on the 14th of February for an implementation end of February, which is now postponed. I was wondering, what does it mean that the public key is registered? Is the issue? But sorry, yes, I probably mispresented the thing. It's the issue, probably. Yeah. Who do you use Get as part of your? No, we don't use Get as part of our implementation. How is the data injected in the platform? I see that you can upload YAML files. How are you validating the validity of the data and inserted of? I see how data are injected in the platform through through an API. If we take the data from, for example, from a cloud-based HR file, for example, or for or through a CSV if information are on the server of the issuer. How was your Oracle implemented? I'm afraid that this is a very technical information. I cannot answer, but I can put you in touch with our CTO. Look really good. One last one. Will the code be open sourced for the purpose of audit? Really, the code of the verifier is open source. The certifier is not currently open sourced. Which is a good point. The auditing element. Thank you for suggesting. Sincere plan to deploy on mainnet. No, well, yes, certainly. I assume you don't have your own protocol implementation. Is that correct? Well, for all what are more technical details, I would handle to our CTO. I don't see any other questions.
Yeah, I think that seems like all the questions. Oh, one last one from Boris about universities, Laura.
Yeah, are you working on universities? Not universities, but professional associations at the moment. Sorry, Oliver, I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. No worries. No, that's everything. I mean, thank you very much. I think it seems to be that all the questions are covered. So thanks for a great talk. As I mentioned earlier, this has been recorded, so will be being uploaded via YouTube, and I'll share the link on the meetup group as soon as it's there. Any other questions, feel free to comment on that or the meetup group itself. Please have a look at Oliver Berner's website. In our community section, we have various other areas of tech that we hold these talks in, so have a look, see what's of interest. From a Go point of view as well, we do have a talk coming up next week, so keep an eye out for that. I'll be putting the event live later on today. That's about from Flight about microservice and monolith applications, so should be quite interesting. And yeah, obviously please send the group on to anyone you know may be interested, from any tech background. Keen to get a sort of wider range of people as we can involved in this. Please reach out if you'd like to do any talks yourself or anything like that. But in the meantime, thank you very much, Laura, and hope everyone stays safe and well. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.